We've just received explosive developments that are sending shockwaves across the currency and financial communities. Chase Bank is now reportedly accepting 25,000 Iraqi dinar notes. That's right, the very same IQD that has long been the center of heated debates, speculation, and whispered revaluation theories, has just moved a significant step closer to legitimacy on American soil. Whether you're a seasoned investor in foreign currency or someone who's been watching this market from the sidelines, this is a moment that demands your full attention. The implications of a major financial institution like Chase taking such a step could be monumental, and potentially signal that a currency reset or revaluation event might not be as far off as many once believed. To be clear, the Iraqi dinar has been a controversial subject for years. Many have dismissed it as a pipe dream, while others have clung to their IQD holdings, believing that someday it would revalue dramatically. The key argument for the optimists has always been rooted in Iraq's vast oil reserves, its potential for economic stability, and the belief that its undervalued currency was temporarily suppressed due to years of conflict, sanctions, and mismanagement. And while speculators have remained hopeful, institutional interest has largely been silent until now. Chase Bank's decision to accept 25K IQD notes isn't just a casual move. This is a Tier 1 financial institution with stringent compliance protocols and a global reputation to uphold. For them to take this step suggests that something is shifting behind the scenes. No bank of this magnitude would expose itself to potential scrutiny without thorough due diligence. The acceptance of these notes doesn't mean a revaluation has occurred, but it does signal preparation, or at least the acknowledgement that the dinar could be moving in a new direction. Let's dig deeper into what this could mean. When a major U.S. bank starts engaging with a foreign currency in this way, several layers of approval are typically required. This includes internal policy reviews, compliance with federal and international currency exchange regulations, and often coordination with U.S. Treasury guidelines. In other words, Chase's move is unlikely to be a rogue or isolated decision. It could indicate that there has been greenlighting at much higher levels, possibly even coordination with financial oversight bodies. What's even more intriguing is the timing. Iraq has recently been making headlines for its accelerated economic reforms. The Central Bank of Iraq has been pushing modernization efforts, including improved electronic banking infrastructure and tightening controls on black market currency trading. Just last quarter, we saw increased diplomatic activity between Iraq and Western allies, with trade agreements and oil production targets being recalibrated in ways that suggest Iraq is moving to integrate more fully with global financial systems. The pieces, it seems, are falling into place. If we step back and look at the broader economic landscape, we see an environment ripe for significant monetary shifts. Inflation in the West is pressuring central banks to rethink their strategies. At the same time, emerging markets are becoming more assertive in restructuring their currencies and debt. The dinar, long seen as an outlier, could be preparing to join this wave. One of the most pressing questions now is, what does this mean for the holders of IQD? If you've been holding 25K notes, this move by Chase might finally give you a route to exchange or leverage them that previously didn't exist. This isn't to say that you should rush to the bank immediately. Details on valuation, rates, and policy are still emerging. But the very fact that a legitimate bank is now acknowledging the currency changes the game entirely. We also need to address the possibility that this is part of a larger strategy, perhaps even a test rollout. Sometimes, banks will quietly begin accepting or processing currencies in limited branches or markets as part of a pilot phase. This helps them gauge demand, identify potential regulatory challenges, and prepare for a broader implementation. If this is happening now with the IQD, it could mean we're on the cusp of wider acceptance. Keep in mind, though, that the banking sector tends to operate with caution, especially when handling high-risk currencies or those involved in geopolitical volatility. Of course, this development will attract skeptics, and rightly so. The dinar has been the subject of countless rumors, scams, and exaggerated claims. The difference now is that we're no longer dealing in hearsay or online forums. This is Chase Bank, not a currency kiosk or an internet exchange service. The credibility brought to the table by a bank of this stature dramatically alters the equation. It doesn't guarantee a revaluation, but it does validate the currency as something worth watching very closely. This news has already sparked movement in currency trading communities and even among private wealth advisors. There are reports of increased inquiries about IQD holdings, and some financial advisors are now revisiting their previous stance on the dinar. The temperature has changed. Whether this leads to a full-blown revaluation or simply sets the groundwork for one remains to be seen, but the spark has been lit. It's also critical to understand how global markets might react if the IQD truly begins gaining ground. A sharp revaluation would trigger ripple effects through oil markets, investment portfolios, and even the debt profiles of regional economies. Iraq is not a small player when it comes to energy reserves. A stronger dinar could impact everything from petroleum contracts to regional alliances. Some experts even suggest that this could encourage similar moves in neighboring currencies that have been artificially suppressed or undervalued. At this stage, it's impossible to say with certainty what Chase Bank's endgame is. They may simply be positioning themselves ahead of an anticipated event. Or they may have received information from international financial institutions that suggest the dinar is due for a shift. In either case, their move is not random, it is calculated and strategic. Banks do not engage with foreign currencies lightly, especially not ones with a history as turbulent as the IQD. And then there's the human side of this story. For years, ordinary people have held onto their IQD, hoping it might one day become their golden ticket. Many were laughed at, called conspiracy theorists, or warned they were falling for a scam. And while there's still a long road ahead, today's news gives those people something they've rarely had in this journey: validation. However, let's be cautious. Acceptance does not mean conversion at high rates. It does not confirm a revaluation timeline. It doesn't even tell us what value Chase may be assigning to the notes yet. But it does place the IQD in a completely new category, no longer relegated to theoretical what-ifs, but now a part of real, tangible bank operations in the United States. This is not the time to make emotional or reactionary decisions. Instead, it's a moment for strategic patience and due diligence. If you are an IQD holder, now is the time to recheck your notes, verify their authenticity, and speak with a qualified financial advisor about your options. And if you're someone who dismissed the dinar story long ago, it might be time to take a second look, because the narrative is clearly shifting. We'll be closely monitoring any updates from Chase Bank's official channels, as well as any statements from the U.S. Treasury or the Central Bank of Iraq. In the coming days, we expect more banks may quietly follow suit, or at least begin internal reviews of their own foreign currency policies. The world of high finance often operates under the surface before things become publicly known, and when you start to see ripples like this, it usually means something bigger is brewing. Make no mistake, this development is serious. It's real. And it could very well be the first visible crack in the wall that has kept the Iraqi dinar from entering mainstream circulation in the West. Whether this leads to the revaluation many have long awaited or simply paves the way for increased currency legitimacy, the significance cannot be overstated. Stay alert, stay informed, and keep watching, because this could be just the beginning of a financial story that reshapes currency markets in ways we haven't seen in decades.